Hi.
Hi there.
I like your earrings, and I understand there's a story behind your earrings. Did you make them?
Which ones are they?
There's these long, beautiful,
Yes,
coiled ones.
yeah. Uh, the story behind them, somebody gave them to me. A famous person, and she doesn't want to be mentioned, but a very good friend of mine. And I saw them on her, and I made the mistake of admiring them. Off they came, and on to me they came, and they've been there ever since.
Did you wear them during Star Trek ever?
Thank you.
Did you wear them during the show ever?
Sure.
Yeah. I think they look sort of familiar, I think,
Thank
to
you.
Star Trek fans. You joined the cast back in 1966, and I'm wondering at the time, did you have any thought that, hey, in 2016, I'm still going to be talking about Star Trek 50 years later?
Yes.
You knew at the time?
Yes. I knew when I first read the script, the first script I read, I said to myself, this is going a long way. This is going a long way.
What was it about that script that made you know that? What was it about the script that made you know that?
Of the quality of the writing, one. The people who were in it, of course, namely me, as well as others. But it was so well written, and it was fun to do. So
you were very prescient about this happening.
Yeah.
You at the time, so it's 1966. You were established. You had been around the entertainment business, actor, singer, dancer, musical theater model. So how unusual was it to be offered a role on a show with such an international set of characters, a television show?
Well, I knew it was going, if it just went on the air, it'd be there forever. That kind of feeling. And I was delighted to be part of it. I think it was that simple. It was a good show. And Gene Roddenberry had gave us something that was lasting, that would go on forever, And wherever I go, it's like one of the first things we talk about is the show. Oh, I saw you on, and why one likes it or loves it, and was then and continues to be a delight for me.
And at the time, when you get offered this role and you see the script, did you see at the time Lieutenant Uhura as a particularly important role in the sense that you and George Takei were the only primary cast members of color? This is 1966. Did you realize at the time how important that representation was?
Yes, because you didn't see us on TV. And suddenly here we were, and it was partly an embodiment of me. So I was delighted, and it was fun to do, well written, and Gene Roddenberry gave us so much, and he believed in us, and he believed in what he wrote, and consequently everyone else did too.
So it was very, very apparent to you that here I am, a Black woman about to be in a TV series. This is breaking all kind of boundaries at the time.
I don't even know if I was thinking in those terms until somebody said it. I just thought, okay, here we go. Let's go. Lights, camera, action. And it was like that, and it was fun to do. It felt important.
And given what you've just said, when you started, was there something thinking, okay, I'm this person of color, I'm going to be on air, it's 1966, lights, camera, action. Was there something where you're like, I want to bring that part of me to the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, and what was that part? Other than seeing a Black woman on our TV screens.
Other than that, that was a major, to be I don't know if I was the first, but to be one of the first was powerful, and I really realized what a gift Gene Roddenberry gave to the world, because we got so much fan mail, so much attention from the audience as a whole. And I was not only delighted, I was grateful. I was grateful to be a part of that.
So you're enjoying the show. You see it going on for a long time. You and your castmates are having fun, and it's a great show. It's getting lots of fans. And so, though, at the end of the first season, you say, it's all great, but hey, me, myself, and I, Nichelle, I want to go back to my love of musical theater.
Yeah.
And you decide, you tell the producer, you say, you know what, this has been great, but I want to go back to do my musical theater. Thank you, but I don't want to renew my contract, or I don't want a second season. And as I understand how the story goes, you were told, Nichelle, go home and think about this for a few days. And if you come back on Monday and you say, I want out, you got our blessing, right? And then something happened, I think it was on the weekend, where you met someone, and you were only told, hey, there's a super huge fan of yours that wants to meet you.
Oh,
You're
my
at a
goodness.
Dinner. Yeah.
I
Turns
think
out to
you're
be.
talking about Dr. Martin Luther King.
I sure am. And so what did he say to you? Well, I mean, what was your, like, hey, big fans coming to meet me, and then it turns out to be Martin Luther King?
I knew it was going to be him at the last minute. They don't pull that kind of trick on you. But when I met him, I thought, this is Dr. Martin Luther King. And then the next thing I know, I said something about, I'm going to miss the people on the show, and I'm going on to blah, 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 because, and I never got past that. He said, you can't. And I remember that saying, what you talking about, Dr. Martin Luther King?
You didn't say
but
that.
But I didn't. I just stood there with my mouth open. And he said, you can't. You really can't. You're first. This is something that is given a television that hasn't been on ever. You're first. And what you bring to it is so important. I'm going, if he doesn't shut up, I'm going to go through this thing, because I was all prepared to go to Broadway and do other things besides the little television show. And he convinced me there was no such thing as a little television show. This was a big show. This was important, and that I was important. And if I left, something left with it that shouldn't go yet. When he finished talking to me, I'm going, I can't leave. I knew I couldn't leave, and I never regretted it.
I guess you don't argue with Martin Luther King either, right?
You don't argue with Dr. King.
There's so much to talk
But
with.
he also happened to be a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went back in on Monday and said, listen, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I've had some conversations.
Yes.
I'm staying.
Yeah. And they went, good. What brought that on? And I said, Dr. Martin Luther King. And they went, ooh-wee. Yeah, our leader. So that was great.
There's so many moments that we could talk about with you. And I want to talk about one of them. This is in 1968, and it's in an episode, for people who are familiar, which are many, of Star Trek, the original series, Plato's Stepchildren. And there's this on-screen kiss between you and Shatner, between you and William Shatner. And as the story goes, the producers in the network didn't want you two to kiss.
Oh, they didn't. Some producers of the network back said, no way. It's never been done. We're not doing it. Da, 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 da.
What did they mean by it's never been done? What's never been done?
Interracial kiss. And they can't do it because we won't show it. And so they came back, and I said, well, if they don't, I'll sue them. And then they'll get a lot of publicity. It went on.
What we see as viewers, the final product.
Yes,
it's there. Yeah.
yes. And also, one of the main people was a big fan of the show.
These big fans have been really good for you.
And so he later told me, won't mention his name, but because he doesn't want it to be. But he later told me, because he was a major guy at the studio, and he said he went, that when I got in on the battle of it, it was like, he said it was like casting. I was the one he would have cast for that role to battle against what they were battling against, and there was very little to do except let the audience know what was being considered, and phone calls and mail came in like crazy.
Supporting it.
And
Pushing
they didn't
back
want
against
it to go off, and we didn't go off.
I'm Piya Chattopadhyay, talking with Nichelle Nichols, who starred as Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek. You're listening to Q. So, Nichelle, you and William Shatner have this kiss. What was that like? I mean, you know, like there's a lot of people watching this because some people still didn't want you to do it, and you two and others said, "We're doing it."
Oh, that first interracial kiss? Is that what you're
Yeah.
I couldn't see what the big deal was because my family is interracial. My grandfather and grandmother were black and white. And all my sisters and brothers, we're all different shades of, we're not all, I think I'm the brownest one in the family, outside of my mother. And my father looked like an Italian, when he's part Italian. And it just all seems so silly to me.
It's so interesting for me to hear you talking about all the social influence and like real life issues you
Yes.
all were taking on in 1966, 1967.
Yeah.
Was that at the forefront for all of you in your minds, or was it just sort of like, we did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we first did it, I didn't see anything questionable about it until someone started saying, "Oh, they can't do that." Where it came from? Well, we sent it that got back to New York to the big guys, and they said Nichelle Nichols said it's going to stay or she's leaving, and she doesn't mind if that's what you want to do, she'll leave. And they said he got the message at home, and his children had a fit. And he said, "You're trying to ruin my home." But he was laughing because he felt essentially the same way. So it stayed. We stayed. It should stay.
The influence and the impact that you made, not only in the show about the things that we were talking to, and just as being a fine actor on this
Yes.
show, but your influence and the influence of these early years of Star Trek. I mean, I don't have to tell you, see it all the time. Fans coming up to you at Fan Expo and other places. But the influence went beyond that. So, you have this long career as an actor. You play Uhura. And then you had a recruitment job with NASA. Like, you go from, like, on-screen life to, like, the real thing, right? Like, let's do
Oh, my
this thing.
goodness.
What were you asked to do for NASA?
Was this the recruitment thing you're
Yes.
talking about? I guess they heard me make a statement that we should be recruiting or whatever it was, and I was being interviewed, and it just was in passing. And the next thing I know, instead of this little passing remark, was this big. And so I was then invited to put my money where my mouth was.
And what'd you do?
And I came aboard. I came aboard, and they got so many calls and so much positive reaction that it changed the face of television forever. And, knock on wood, that's what you needed.
Star Trek is, if not one of the most popular franchises in movies and soon again on TV. Your character, that Lieutenant Uhura,
Yeah.
it's carrying on. So Zoe Saldana plays it now. Do you see your character as having a timeless quality, or is it a character that changes for different times, for different eras?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Zoe called me, got my number, called me, and told me that she was shivering like a feather, that what she was up for and so forth, and nobody can follow you and blah, blah, blah. And I said, there's no such thing. I said, I followed some of the greatest. And if you're going to follow anybody, follow somebody that you admire or that's doing a good job. You don't want to follow
I'm guessing she called you because you're far from a
Right.
ragtag, and I think she probably called you with great admiration and admires you.
Yes.
But your point to her was follow someone. You don't necessarily have to follow my lead.
That's right. That's right. And it made all the difference. So I was pretty proud of that.
Pulling on your lapels
Yeah,
there, yeah.
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 And the thing was that it was, to me, it was such a simple thing. You just do it. And I was on TV or something, and they were talking about the magnitude of this, and I said, that's silly. It's so simple. He said, what do you mean? I said, you just do it. That's how things happen in television. That's why we have television, so you can see it, and appreciate it or go against it. But you can do it on TV, live TV. And that's why TV is so important. And that's why when radio came out, it was so important because you had a voice out there, not just between you and your family doing battle.
I'm glad you raised that word battle because, we started our conversation talking about what it was like to be one of the first Black actors on television. 50 years later, here we are, still having these debates, these concerns, these problems about the lack of representation and opportunity for actors and actresses of color in the entertainment industry. So give us some help here. I mean, are there lessons from your experience with Star Trek that you want us to learn today as it pertains to representation?
What do I think today?
I mean, are you surprised that we're still having these debates, if I can put it that way?
No, I'm not surprised at all, because there are more people out there that feel the same way than there are that don't. What we have to rely on in many cases is what happens on TV. It's one of the most important things that's happened to us. We can see ourselves in someone else. How many times have you seen on TV and you said, oh, that's the truth, that's the living truth, and you start and you're talking with someone that maybe you're doing battle with, and you argue the point instead of with fisticuffs, with thoughts. And you may or may not change people's minds, but if it's positive, you change more minds than negative.
You're at Fan Expo this weekend here in Toronto, celebrating the 50th anniversary with George Takei and William Shatner. Going to be pretty special for you, I bet.
I'm sorry?
It's going to be pretty special for you, I bet.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I love everything about the show. I love everybody on the show. And it was, I think, the first interracial show on television. And I love and respect that. Not that it's the first, because it should have happened a heck of a longer time than this, but better late than never, and to be part of it was an honor.
It's been a real pleasure talking
you.
with you. Thank you for the work that you've done and breaking down those barriers. Appreciate your time.
The pleasure's mine being with you.
Thanks.
Thank you.